All right, so let's look at where we're going this evening. We'll introduce the topic of writing a comparative essay and writing essays in general, and then we'll go through 4 different parts of our presentation where we look at the formatting issues with writing a paper according to APA formatting, and then we'll, in part 2, we'll talk about your choice of a topic for this. You are given 5 choices for the comparative essay, and we'll discuss each of those and how to pick the right topic for you. Part 3 tonight, we'll look at the actual writing of the paper, introduction, the main body, and your conclusion. And then lastly, we'll wrap up with your sources and references and how to find those and how to cite those as well. So to introduce things, writing an essay is not always easy. You're all ready to write your essay, but sometimes you have difficulty getting started. We've all had writer's block. The ideas just aren't coming, the words aren't flowing, and so you take a break and try again later. And then we have this experience sometimes in writing where we write something and don't like it and scrap it. And then we write something else, don't like it, and scrap it. And we revise, and it doesn't seem to be going the direction we want it to. Someone once said that thoughts are clarified out the lips and through the fingertips. And each step in that process requires a certain level of concentration and clarity of mind. And I would suggest to you this evening that the thoughts that you have that are eventually going to wind up on paper for this particular assignment, those thoughts are triggered by your research. In other words, you're going to investigate your topic, you're going to look at sources, you're going to read things, and you're going to have an idea, and you're going to have a way of saying something, and you're going to begin to organize things in your mind, and you're going to begin to have sequences come out. So the thoughts are really, the thoughts that you need for writing papers come from research, come from reading and studying, and getting into the topic and the sources that you'll pull from for your paper. And then when you finally get it on paper, then that's really quite a process to get something from a thought in your mind to paper. Well, what exactly is a comparative essay? Comparative essay is one in which a comparison is made between 2 or more items. Now, for this assignment, this essay, you will compare 2 theories, 2 hypotheses, 2 models, or 2 ideas that explain the origin of astronomical or geological features. In a comparative essay, you will consider both the similarities and the differences. Compare and contrast. Compare similarities, contrast differences. The nature of the comparison is focused on the soundness and reliability of the scientific and biblical evidence presented in support of each. References from experts in the field of study are critical to a good essay, and that's what makes this a research paper. Okay, so part 1 and the first of 4 parts this evening, let's talk a little bit about formatting. I don't need to get into this too much because there's a presentation in this week's assignment, in this week's reading and study folder that addresses this. But first and foremost, all formal papers submitted to LUO must be in Microsoft Word format. Now, Word, the latest version of Word, is part of Microsoft Office 365. Office 365 is available at no charge to all LUO students. You can, if you do not have Office 365, you're not availing yourself to this free software, you can visit IT services on the Liberty website, and if you have any trouble downloading that, installing that, you can always call the IT help desk for additional support, and that's their free number there, toll-free number there. So the format, the file format for Word documents is doc or docx. And for this assignment and for all assignments submitted as formal papers at Liberty, do not use Pages, iOS. Don't use your Mac Pages word processing program. Don't use PDF files. Don't submit as text files. And there is a space for you to just paste your content in, and don't use that either. Don't use the Blackboard box to paste your content. So submit as a Microsoft Word document. AP formatting tips, as I mentioned, please view the B term week 7, or if you're an A term student, the week 14 presentation, proper APA formatting. There's an excellent short presentation there on APA formatting with a lot of the details. There are a couple of discrepancies between what is stated in that presentation and what is in the instructions for the assignment. So when in doubt, go with the assignment instructions. There's, I think, a couple more things that need to be added from the assignment instructions. But you will learn a lot in a short amount of time by viewing that presentation. So there it is. In the week that this assignment is given, there is proper APA formatting, and so that's the link to that presentation. The presentation, that presentation, I'm just going to briefly cover kind of an outline of it. It covers making a cover page, correctly formatted cover page, how to put the running head at the top, in-text citations, correct formatting for in-text citations, and then also your reference page, the correct formatting for that. So I'm going to go through just the things that I've noticed over the years that sometimes tend to trip students up with formatting. So I'm going to go through about 10 tips here fairly quickly about formatting. Tip number 1, take time to put together a correctly formatted APA cover page, and that is covered in the presentation. Tip number 2, headings. The assignment instructions require 5 or 6 headings for this particular assignment, and these are the headings for this particular assignment: an introduction, Old Earth Secular View, Young Earth View, Comparison of Viewpoints, Contrast of Viewpoints, and Conclusion. Now, these 6 headings are going to be the same no matter which topic you choose. These will be the same for all students for this particular assignment. So these headings actually need to be in the paper, and they the formatting for these headings is in that presentation. Tip number 3, remember to include a bibliography or reference page with at least 4 sources. And some of the instructors that gave me feedback on this assignment are really are requesting more than 4 sources, because they find that students seem to do better if they include more than 4 sources. But the requirement for the paper is that there need to be at least 4 sources. 2 must be from the Young Earth View, and 2 must be from the Old Earth View. And this pops up in just about every set of papers. There is a gentleman named Jeffrey Kapersky who has produced an article titled Creationism, and it looks from this article that this is a Young Earth source, but it's actually not. He's not a Young Earth proponent, and so he's writing about it, but he's not a proponent of it. So don't use Jeffrey Kapersky's article on creationism to be one of your 2 sources from the Young Earth View. And then also it's important to note that your course text, the heavens and the earth, does not count toward the total. You certainly may use the course text as a source for this paper, because there's some great information in there on the topics that you will choose from. But the course text does not count as one of the 4. So if you include the course text, there must be 4 additional sources. Tip number 4, do not use first or second person. Discover this text here reads, discovers that what I have to say is legitimate, exciting, and important. I think probably the best way to make my papers more interesting, and so on. It's such a common practice for us to default to first person when we're writing, And for a formal paper, APA formatting does not allow for use of first or second person in writing. So avoid the I, my, me, you, us, we uses in your paper. Tip number 5, the length of the paper needs to be at least 1,000 words, not counting the cover page and bibliography. So your text should be about a minimum of about 3 1/4 pages, so that you can always use the word count function under the Review tab in Microsoft Word to do a quick word count. If you want to find out just what your text is, you highlight the text and then go to the Review tab and do the word count, and it'll tell you just how many words are there in the highlighted portion. But it turns out to be about 3 1/4 pages as long as you're using the correct format, Times New Roman, 12-point, and the correct margins, 1 inch all around, and you don't have blank lines inserted. Tip number 6, use correct parenthetical and in-text citations. Citations are needed within the body of your paper as part of APA formatting. And there's really 2 types of in-text citations. There are quotes. A common parenthetical citation includes the author's surname followed by the year of publication at the end of the quote. So you'll quote the article, a particular article or a particular book as part of your paper. You'll say, well, the author says, and then you'll open the quote, and the author will say something about carbon dating, and then you'll close the quote, and then at the end of the close of the quote, you'll put the author's name and the year of publication, and then followed by the page number. Some sources do not have page numbers because they're an internet source, and so in that case, you'll put the paragraph number. So this is a format we use for direct quote. And then paraphrase is when you're citing a single work, you'll refer to an author and a point that they make. So when you do that, then you're really paraphrasing or sharing that person's work. And when you do that, you simply, when you mention the author by name, you include the date of the publication afterwards. So those are the ways to cite quotes and paraphrases. Tip number 7, avoid plagiarism. Wouldn't it be easy to write a paper if we could just cut and paste and put some stuff together? But that would not be your material, wouldn't be your writing. Plagiarism, by definition, presenting material that is not in your own words. So we want to avoid plagiarism. And tip number 8, always indent the first line of a new paragraph. This is not indented, this is indented, so you always want to indent when you start a new paragraph. And I think that's another thing that's part of our modern means of communication. When we send emails, we tend not to write in formal paragraph formatting, but do indent each new paragraph. Tip number 9, do not use contractions. When we speak, we use contractions all the time. So we want to avoid that, all, your, can't. Actually, here's a double error right here, I'll, because you're using first person and you're using a contraction. So avoid use of first person and contractions. Write it out. Instead of don't, use do not. Tip number 10, proofread your paper. Going over your paper, reading it through at least one time is almost essential because it's so common to make errors. With electronic means of word processing these days, it's very easy to just rely on spell check. So you click the spell check and you make sure everything is correct. But it's really not enough to run a spell check because we have words that are spelled the same way but have different meanings. And then number 2, words grammar check. The blue underline in Microsoft Word that does the grammar check does not catch all grammatical errors. Sometimes it won't catch a run-on sentence. Sometimes it won't catch a sentence fragment. So you need to go further than simply doing the spell check and the grammar check. Number 3, Don't switch tenses. When you're referring to an author's work, since it was written in the past, you refer to it in the past. The author stated as opposed to the author states. And some students fall into a pattern of going back and forth between present and past. But keep it in the past. Conclusions are allowed to be stated in the present because they're your conclusion and they come forth from the material, so they're in the here and now. Number 4, subject and verb must agree in number. Example, the scientists are studying, and continuing the sentence. This is one of the most, so here we have a verb that's plural and we have a noun that's singular. So this is one of the most common errors that we've experienced, is that these words, scientists, geologists, and evolutionists, are often written as if they were plural, but they're not. They're written in the singular form. So scientists should be scientists when you mean more than one. Geologists should be geologists if you're referring to more than one, and same thing with evolutionist. So proofreading is an important part of producing a good paper. Miscellaneous things to avoid. Dramatic, strong language, or you get really strong with your point. Hyperbole, exaggeration, is where you exaggerate something like this. Nowhere in the entire universe does this happen. You know, that would be maybe hyperbole. Then rhetorical questions. Avoid rhetorical questions. What are they? Questions that have only one answer. Who would have thought this is true? How is this even possible? So it's actually a literary technique that can be very effective in certain kinds of writing, but it's discouraged in a formal science research paper. And then finally, do not refer to the young Earth view as New Earth. This is so common that we get it confused. New Earth is something else. New Earth is written about in Revelation along with the new heaven. And then sometimes New World pops up as well. So make sure you use the terms that have been used in your textbook and in the course material all along, young Earth and old Earth views. All right, let's move on to part 2 this evening, picking a topic. When writing an essay, the best advice is read instructions carefully. So the assignment has more than a page of instructions, and I'm going to just discuss right here the instructions for choosing a topic. So according to comparative essay instructions, you're asked to choose one of the following topics for your comparative essay, and here they are. Number 1, original creation of the Earth. In parentheses, nebular hypothesis versus 6-day creation. Number 2, geologic time, billions of years versus thousands of years. Number 3, dating rocks of the Grand Canyon, old Earth versus young Earth. Geologic paradigms, uniformitarianism versus catastrophism. And number 5, radiocarbon dating, old Earth versus young Earth methods and assumptions. All right, in choosing one of these 5 topics, avoid writing about old Earth creationism. This is very specific in instructions. Old Earth creationism would be a third viewpoint in addition to the secular old Earth view and the young creationist young Earth view. It would be kind of a hybrid view. So you want to avoid writing about old Earth creationism. This is something that we're not including in the comparative essay. We're just comparing 2 ideas. So we're not including old Earth creationism, which would include gap theory, day-age theory, progressive creation, days of creation. So those concepts are not to be part of this paper. That is in the instructions, and I probably will emphasize that at least one more time this evening before we finish. Avoid writing on a topic related to but not one of the 5 topics listed. For example, biological evolution is related to this, but it's really not one of those 5 topics listed. So it's very easy to start talking about biological evolution and do species evolve, and what did Darwin see? But that's really not part of this. This is an earth science course, and biological evolution, of course, is dealt with in one of Liberty's biology courses. But here we're discussing geology, earth science, age of the earth, etc. And then finally, avoid writing on more than one topic. Sometimes students will start on one topic, say radiocarbon dating, and then they'll jump to another topic, the geologic time. And there is some overlap from topic to topic, but stay focused on the topic that you chose and don't jump topics or combine topics either. So let's go through these topic choices you have and see if there's something in our review here tonight that maybe piques your interest and you say, yeah, that's the one I want to write on. So topic number one, choice number one, original creation of the Earth, nebular hypothesis versus six-day creation. So this is a theory that explains the origin of our solar system and its contents. The old Earth nebular hypothesis explains the origin of the bodies that make up our solar system as having formed from a nebula, which is a cloud of dust and gas, over billions of years. The young Earth six-day creation view explains fiat creation of the Earth and the heavenly bodies as recorded in Genesis 1. Now, there's kind of a warning with this particular choice, and the warning is this. Before choosing this topic, please understand that it requires some research and study of astronomy, which is not covered in this course. The nebular hypothesis is part of astronomy. Of course, it includes the Earth, but it will require some extra study. Topic choice number two, geologic time, billions of years versus thousands of years. So the geologic record, the geologic column gives us snapshots of what took place in Earth history at different points of time. A layer of rock tells a story, and there are clues and there are evidences in there. The interpretation of those two, the interpretation of the geologic record is vastly different between the young Earth view and the old Earth view, the secular old Earth view, billions of years versus thousands of years. That would be topic choice number two. These two opposing views explain the geologic record. The focus here, and this is important, what I'm saying here tonight, this is an important part of this essay. The focus here is on the processes and time involved in the creation and formation of the Earth and its current features. And I would also add the focus is on sequence, that there might be different sequences of events happening as well. So the amount of time certainly is a difference, is something to compare and contrast the processes that formed the geologic record and finally the sequence in which they happened. Topic number three, dating rocks of the Grand Canyon, secular old Earth versus young Earth. Dating the rocks of the Grand Canyon. The old Earth view explains the origin of rock layers of the Grand Canyon and the subsequent erosion that exposed the rock sequences having occurred over hundreds of millions of years. The young Earth view explains the origin of the rock layers and their subsequent erosion and exposure as a catastrophic event over a time period measured in thousands of years. Important note, if you choose this topic asks you to discuss the rocks of the Grand Canyon, not the canyon itself. The age of the canyon may be included in this discussion, but it's really a separate topic. So we're really asking you to discuss what happened to make the rocks of the Grand Canyon form, and what is the compare and contrast the two views of what made up the rocks. And then, of course, the exposure of the rocks in the formation of the canyon may be part of the discussion, but the real focus is on the rocks. Topic choice number four, geologic paradigms, uniformitarianism versus catastrophism. Here's a picture of Mount St. Helens before and after the May 1980 eruption, which dramatically in a very short period of time, changed this geologic feature. So this would be an example of something catastrophic happening in the Earth. Uniformitarianism is actually the founding principle of geology. The present is the key to the past. It's the old Earth uniformitarian view that interprets geologic history in light of what is observed today. The young Earth view proposes the view that geologic history should be interpreted from the perspective of the global catastrophic flood of Noah. So rather than saying we can look at all these processes happening today, the way beaches are formed, the way that rivers cut through landscape, and we can say, well, those are the same processes that formed all of the rocks in the past. And the young Earth view contrasts with that, saying, no, there's something catastrophic that happened in the past that we do not see happening today that shaped the features of the Earth. And finally, the topic choice number 5, radiocarbon dating, old Earth versus young Earth, assumptions, methods, and assumptions. So carbon dating is a frequently used term. It comes up in news items pretty often. And carbon dating, radiocarbon dating, old Earth versus young Earth, methods and assumptions. This method is not used to date objects more than 100,000 years. This is one of the biggest misconceptions about radiocarbon dating. The old Earth view supports this method of dating carbon artifacts. The young Earth view challenges the scientific validity of the method in light of unsupportable assumptions and evidence that old objects have been found to contain C14. So I'm actually giving you quite a bit of a hint there if you choose that topic. Another important note here on this topic choice, please do not use this term, radiocarbon dating, interchangeably with the term radioisotope dating. Radiocarbon dating or carbon dating is one of many methods that fall under the general terms radioisotope or radiometric dating. Carbon dating is not used to date rocks that are millions of years old. Other radioisotope methods are used. Potassium argon is one of the radioisotope methods used to date really old rocks, or what are thought to be really old rocks. Uranium, lead, rubidium, strontium, those are 3 methods used to date the rocks in the billions of years. Carbon dating can only date something that has carbon in it, and it's a relatively short term. But the assumptions that you'll uncover in radiocarbon dating can be applied to all of those. Just a warning to not use the terms interchangeably. So those are your 5 topics. Again, original creation of the Earth, geologic time, dating the rocks of the Grand Canyon, geologic paradigms, radiocarbon dating. And the items in parentheses are the two different views that you're going to be comparing and contrasting, because there are 2 different views. Let me just go back for a quick moment. Another really important point here in comparative essay topic choices is that there is scientific evidence for the young Earth view in all of these topics. And some students kind of miss that. They just assume that the view from the old Earth perspective is scientific, and the view from the young Earth perspective is biblical or religious. And they actually are very, very equal. Both have mindsets or concepts or worldviews behind them, and then they both have scientific evidence for that they use to support. So please include scientific evidence when you're writing about the young Earth perspective for your topic choice. Part 3, let's get into the actual writing of the paper, the introduction, the body, and the conclusion of your paper. Before getting into this topic, because I don't want to be redundant in the presentation this evening, but the course developer, Dr. Mark Tinsley, has prepared an excellent brief presentation in the reading study folder of week 7 for B term and week 14 for A term. This presentation focuses on the content of your paper. So please make sure you view that, and I'm going to omit some of the details that he covers in that presentation. But there in the reading and study folder, there's that presentation I just mentioned, presentation writing the comparative essay, and it's brief and covers a lot about the body of your paper, the introduction, the main body, and the conclusion. So I'll just mention a couple of things about this here. The introduction should be brief. It will introduce your reader to the topic and should include a thesis statement and a description of the scope of the essay. Avoid using quotes in this section. The information you present in your introduction should be general enough to not require a quote, unless if you have a really great quote that you want to include that introduces your topic, you can do so. But in general, this is fairly brief and includes a thesis statement and description of what you're going to be covering. In the body of the essay, these 4 headings will make up the body of your paper. These 4 sections with each of these as a heading in your paper will make up the body of your essay. The older secular view, the young earth view, comparison of viewpoints, and contrast of viewpoints. Now again, I want to go back to this. Focus on time, sequence, and processes. What is different about time, and what is different about the sequence, and what is different about the processes that are involved for those, from those 2 viewpoints. Note, in the body of the essay, be objective. You're a reporter. You're simply reporting on what one side says about it and then what the other side says about it. And you, of course, you want to try to get the best of what they say from both views. The body of your essay should be objective. Avoid the temptation to insert a personal opinion or refer to something in a derogatory manner or to begin to introduce debate into this section. This is simply reporting the information from both viewpoints and with the information as they present it. You may have an opinion, and the opinion may be expressed in the conclusion. Note, the young earth view is scientific. So I mentioned this earlier, and I mention it again. It's worth mentioning twice. Students sometimes err by omitting the scientific evidence for the young earth position, thus perpetuating the myth that the old earth view is scientific and the young earth view is religious. Another error is a focus on worldview instead of actual topic. So you want to really stay focused on what are they saying and what is the scientific evidence. What is this view saying in terms of time and sequence, and what's the evidence, the processes, and what's the evidence? And then you want to go to the other view and say, well, what does this view say about the amount of time and the sequence and the processes and the evidence? So those are 2 common errors that sometimes occur in the writing of this paper. And then finally, the conclusion. You want to be sure to restate your purpose or thesis statement, and do not introduce new material in your conclusion. Sometimes students will say, oh, I didn't quote from such and such a source, and all of a sudden they'll pull that in. So your conclusion is a rehashing of what you've already gone over with maybe some of your personal opinion there at the end. So you may and should use a sentence or 2 to express your opinion in comparing and contrasting the 2, because both can't be true. In all these cases, the 2 different views are mutually exclusive. You really can't conclude, it's really not a fair conclusion to say, well, both have merits, because they both can't be true. So one side can't have merit if the other side is true. So please do so in your conclusion without using the word I. So please refrain from using first person all the way through the conclusion. And then finally, your bibliography. According to APA formatting, the title of this page is actually references. So it is a bibliography, but the title is references. Be sure to use the hanging indent format, which means you indent the second and subsequent lines of the source, but not the first line of the source. Keep it double-spaced. Sometimes students will single-space their reference page. and then make sure sometimes new fonts show up in reference pages. Keep your font the same, Times New Roman 12 point. Okay, the final part of our covering of the topic of the comparative essay this evening are your sources or your references. Where are you going to find good references? And again, I don't have to say too much about this evening, but let me just say that searching for references is like treasure hunting. It can require a lot of patience, like you can't find something, you haven't found enough information on the topic of your choice, but it can be very rewarding. And this is where we are going with education. You want to do more than simply write a paper and fulfill the requirements and submit it. You want to be learning something, and you want to get to the place where you go, aha, that's what I always thought, or that's what I believe to be true, or that makes sense to me, or and the light comes on, and all of a sudden there's a piece of information that you kind of had a feeling about, and all of a sudden, boom, there it is, and you saw it in somebody's research. And that is really, I think, the very, very rewarding part of education and research. God created us with curiosity. He created us for discovery. He created us to constantly be learning and growing and discovering things that are new and different. And so that, I think, is something that is, it's not just work, it's not just an assignment that you learn how to follow a set of procedures, but it's actually, there's something there that changes your perspective on something. So let me go back to this reading and study page. Again, the reason why I don't need to say too much about references is because there is an excellent presentation here by Randy Miller of the Jerry Falwell Library that's presented in this week. So make sure you view this. This will do the most to help you, and I'll provide you with a couple of hints here that will make it go even faster. But this presentation is excellent. In fact, it will help you not just with your paper in this course, it will help you with just about every course that you take where you have to do research. So please view that presentation. But there is at the bottom of this particular folder, the Reading and Study folder, there is a link to the website, which the library, the Jerry Falwell Library website, with a special page that has been set up just for this assignment, really just for this assignment. So that link down there at the bottom, entitled Website Research Guides at Liberty University Biology and Chemistry Research Guide, by clicking that link, it will take you to a special page in the library that looks something like this. So this is it. It says Biology and Chemistry Research Guide, but look at this. This is your topic, Earth Science. And then you can scroll down here and you can view all these different sources. And most of those are books or journal articles, periodicals, and other forms of sources or references that you can use for your research. Let me mention two additional references as well. The first one is the Answers in Genesis website. Answers in Genesis is a creation ministry, and their website is devoted to the young Earth creation position. Perhaps some of you have viewed the Bill Nye, Ken Ham debate that took place on the campus of Answers in Genesis. The research there is, this is very significant, beginning in 2008, there's a research journal that's part of the website. So any of those articles in the research journal, it's called Answers Research Journal, any of the articles from the journals going back to 2008 would be considered good sources for your paper. Of course, most of those are going to be from the young Earth perspective. But you'll have to go through those. There's really not a very good search function on that website. You'll have to go through and look for articles on the topic that you've chosen. But that's an excellent source. And then really the founding of Creation Ministry in the United States is the Institute for Creation Research, going back several decades, many decades actually now. The Institute for Creation Research website, icr.org, is devoted to young Earth creationism. And there's a research journal that's part of this website called Acts and Facts. And that's, if you go to icr.org and you go up to publications and resources, you'll see the Acts and Facts. And many of those have scholarly articles which certainly qualify as excellent sources for this paper. So I'd like to close by going back to the whole issue of proofreading your paper once you're finished. How would you like, I'm asking you tonight, a rhetorical question, how would you like a free assessment of your comparative essay from a Liberty graduate student? Well, some of you know about this, but some of you perhaps don't. That resource is available to you free through what's called Liberty's Online Writing Center. So as online students, you have access to a tutor-reviewed copy of the paper before you submit it for a grade. So this is the Online Writing Center website. If you do a search from Liberty's homepage, Online Writing Center, it will take you to this page. And what you do is you finish your paper and you submit it to them as a Word document. There's a place on that opening page where you can submit your paper. You'll click a link and fill out some information and submit your paper. You can submit your paper to the OWC at least 4 days before the assignment due date, and you'll receive a free tutor-reviewed assessment of your essay in about 48 hours, sometimes less. As we get closer to the end of the term, it gets a little more crowded there and maybe take a little bit longer. So the idea would be this week for you B-term students, if you want to review, if you want to use this resource and get your paper reviewed, then you want to submit it no later than Thursday. They'll probably get it back to you sometime over the weekend, and then you'll have a chance to make some adjustments in your paper, make some corrections, make some revisions, and turn it in and submit it by Monday of next week. So I just wanted you to be aware of the OWC. It's an excellent resource. Well, let's wrap things up by saying that there are 3 presentations in the Reading and Study folder for the week the assignment is due, the comparative essay is due, and 1 web link. And that web link I just mentioned will take you to that Earth Science page at the Jerry Falwell Library website. Those 3 presentations and that 1 web link are in the Reading and Study folder of the course content and will support you in your writing of this paper. And then this recording as well, the recording of this presentation will be an additional resource for you. It will be available after this evening at the same link that you used to register. So the recording works the same as the live webinar. If you click on the link, you will be taken to a page where you're asked to register, and then you will be able to view the recording. It usually takes about an hour for the recording to queue up and be ready for viewing. So if you wanted to watch it again this evening or go back and review some things, give it about an hour before it becomes available. And I want to just close with this verse from Proverbs 14:23. It says, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. And I know that sometimes academic work for online students who have lots of other things going on in their lives, family and jobs and things happening in your life that tend to take away your devotion to the coursework. I just know that this is true, and I could share many examples from my own life that all hard work does bring a profit, and that God will prosper you through your hard work and as you learn and as you grow. So I just wanted to share that with you as just one of God's excellent promises for you as you pursue academic goals and a degree through Liberty University.